why do many black Americans relate to al-Islam? Ultimately, this question can be answered with just a quoting of a verse or two. And this relates to anybody, regardless of what your ethnicity may be, regardless if you're black or white. We have the statement of Allah where He says, كَذَلِكَ يُضِلُّ اللَّهُ مَن يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ. And like that, Allah allows to go astray whomever He wills, and He guides whomever He wills. Allah, the blessed and exalted, He also says, يَمُنُّونَ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ أَسْلَمُوا قُلْ لَا تَمُنُّوا عَلَيَّ إِسْلَامَكُمْ بَلِ اللَّهُ يَمُنُّ عَلَيْكُمْ أَنْ هَدَاكُمْ لِلْإِيمَانِ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He states, they count as a favor to you that they entered into Islam. They count as a favor to you, O Muhammad, that they entered into Islam. Allah commands Muhammad, may Allah's lofty commendations and peace be upon him, to respond to them by saying, do not count as a favor to me your Islam. On the contrary, Allah favored you by guiding you all to faith, if indeed you are truthful. So ultimately, the guidance is from Allah. Now Allah does put forth causes or reasons for that lead to the guidance of an individual, and when you look at a case-by-case basis, everybody's reasons are different. But in general, when looking at black Americans, because we're speaking generally now, then I believe that one of the things that has to be looked at is the black experience here in America. As is well known that black Americans were in captivity within this country for however many hundreds of years, 400 years and like this. And with this particular country being a Judeo-Christian society, as is said, a part of the black experience here in this particular country was that the religion of Christianity was used as a tool to justify and legitimize and maintain the enslavement of black Americans. It also legitimized the inferiority of black Americans and legitimized the superiority of white Americans or people of European descent. And there are many examples to support this particular statement, but I'd like to just maybe bring 2 or 3 examples that come to mind immediately. One example is the fact that one of the very first slave ships was named or dubbed the good ship Jesus. The good ship Jesus. And this is something that is fact, and everybody is aware of this who studies history. Another example is the fact or the story of Noah and his son Ham. And I'm going to paraphrase the story, but basically this is a story that's in the Bible where Noah, a prophet and messenger of Allah, per the Bible, claims or alleges that he was drunk, and he was so sloppy drunk that he passed out, I believe, in the garden, and he passed out in the nude. He was unclothed. He had on no clothing. And his son Ham entered upon him and saw his father, and instead of covering his father up and covering his shame and like this, he goes and gets his brothers and brings them back and basically, look at daddy. Daddy is, look at the state that daddy is in. Upon Noah recovering from his drunken state and being informed about what took place, he supplicates or he invokes Allah to curse the lineage of Ham. Not to curse Ham, but to curse the lineage of Ham. And it is alleged that in this particular story that Allah accepted this invocation. Now, from the Islamic perspective, or from the Islamic view, this particular story is incorrect. We don't affirm this particular story to be the truth. In fact, we consider this to be falsehood. And it's for several reasons. But to stick to the point of answering the question, one of the reasons why this particular story is considered to be false from the Islamic view is that it attributes oppression to the Creator, in that a group of people that are descendants of an individual are now held accountable and made distant from the mercy of Allah as a result of an action that their ancestor did that they had or played no part in whatsoever. So Noah may have lived 40,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. Allah knows best when exactly Noah lived. But per the claim of these Christians that were that participated in the slave trade, was that the descendants of Ham were still cursed to this very day, and that justified enslavement of them, and thus forth and so on. So this is attributing injustice to the Creator of the heavens and earth, to Allah. And again, this is something that the Muslims can never affirm to be the truth. Because Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He teaches us in this book, مَنْ يَهْتَدَى فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ. Whoever goes towards right, then he goes towards right for the benefit of himself. وَمَنْ ضَلَّ فَإِنَّمَا يُضِلُّ عَلَيْهَا. And whoever goes astray, then he goes astray at the detriment to himself. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. And no bearer of sin will carry the sin of another. No bearer or carrier of sin will carry the sin of another. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. And we did not punish, meaning a group of people, until we first sent a messenger. Until we first sent a messenger. So in this verse, Allah is showing us the justice that is with Him, that no ancestor of yours can commit a crime and you be held accountable for it 2,000 years later, 4,000 years later, 10,000 years later, 40,000 years later, 100,000 years later, and thus forth and so on. You are bearing the burden of a sin that your forefathers created. This is why committed. Excuse me. This is why we look at this. One of the reasons why we look at this story as being false. However, this particular story was used to legitimize the enslavement and the subjugation of black Americans. Why? Because it was claimed that the descendants of Ham are the Africans. That the Africans, their ancestor was Ham. He was the progenitor of Africans. Now you have some Christians today stating that no, that's not the case. The descendants of Ham are not the Africans. But it doesn't matter. Whoever the ancestors of Ham may be, regardless of who you claim that they are, it is still injustice to attribute to them being cursed as a result of something that Ham did. And this is why this is unacceptable in Al-Islam. It just so happened that from the black experience here in America, black Americans were the ones to whom which that so-called curse was applied. A third reason why you may find a lot of black Americans relating to al-Islam is the very depiction of the prophets and messengers that are found within the churches and within Christian literature and thus forth and so on. All of the prophets and messengers are depicted to be of European descent, meaning all of the prophets and messengers are depicted as being white. And this is something that is historically inaccurate. For the time periods that the prophets and messengers walked, and when I say prophets and messengers, the prophets and messengers that are mentioned in the Bible, for the time period that they lived in the areas or regions of the earth that they were in, it was impossible for them to be white. It was impossible for them to be white, and Allah knows best. But the main point is the depiction of all of them to be white, to be this one particular ethnicity. Likewise, and what is even greater and more dangerous than that, will be the depicting of the creator of the heavens and earth as being likewise a white man. Now, before I continue, when looking at this particular issue, if this is pointed out to some white Christians, they will usually respond with, well, you know, color doesn't matter. Well, if color didn't matter, then why is there a continuation of this depiction within the churches? And then, like I was saying, what's even graver or greater of a crime than that is depicting the creator of the heavens and the earth to be white as well, which is a means of instilling an inferiority in the rest of the ethnicities and races and showing superiority to this one particular race. Now, the Islamic perspective as it relates to the creator of the heavens and the earth, that it is prohibited to even attempt to try to depict him. The creator of the heavens and the earth is not a flesh and bone man. The creator of the heavens and the earth, he states about himself, لا تضربوا لله الأمثال. Do not set forth for Allah an image or a similarity or a depiction. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. For indeed Allah, He knows. He has knowledge and you all don't know. You all don't know. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He also states in His noble book, رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا فَاعْبُدْهُ وَاصْطَبِرْ لِعِبَادَتِهِ هَلْ تَعْلَمُ لَهُ سَمِيًّا. O Lord of the heavens and the earth and that which is between the two. So worship Him and be constant and patient with the worship of Him. Do you know of any who is similar to Him? Do you know of any who is similar to Him? And the answer is no. There is no one that is similar to the creator of the heavens and the earth. He is unique. He is one of a kind. He is not a white man nor a black man, because this would be in contradiction to this verse. There's nothing that is similar to Him. He is unique in every aspect of the word, one of a kind. So when you compare because in Islam it is a major and grave sin to even try to depict the creator of the heavens and the earth. Likewise, it is a major sin to try to depict the prophets and messengers. This is why when the movie The Messenger came out, they had no actor actually playing the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it is considered a sin to try to depict him. But in Islam, it's not just restricted to him. This is with all the prophets and messengers. This is with Noah, this is with Abraham, this is with Moses, this is with Jesus, the son of Mary, and other than them from among the prophets and messengers. It is prohibited in al-Islam to try and depict them. So when looking at this, and then when looking at what we find in the churches today and all around the world, for a black American to look at these things that were just mentioned and ask himself, does color really matter? And he weighs what Islam says and what Christianity says. Is it a mystery why he would relate more to al-Islam as opposed to Christianity? And you find a lot of black Americans that may not know about al-Islam, but yet and still, when looking at these factors, is it a mystery why they would have a distaste in their mouth for Christianity when looking at some of these factors that I just mentioned? And that is because the reality is when black Americans really ponder over these things and look at these things, they recognize it for what it is. And that ultimately is falsehood. As the Prophet ﷺ was commanded to say, جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. That truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Indeed, falsehood in the presence of truth is ever bound to vanish, and Allah knows best. Now,